started, we'll have our special guest, Matt Miller, talk a little bit about the Wing Off and the Jaycees and how they all play a role together on.
Oh my. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So yeah, so the Wing Off began to kind of give you a little bit of a history. Years and years ago, before any of our time, the Jaycees used to host what was called the Seafood Festival, and it was a huge event. And over the years, they accumulated a lot of fryers. And for years prior to my joining the chapter, the fryers sat in storage because they quit the seafood festival, and I don't know, probably around the year 2000, maybe a little bit before that. But anyhow, they sat unused, with the exception of we used to do a seafood thing at Milan. Every year, the people from Milan would have us host basically a employee appreciation thing at WVU Stadium, and that was really the only time we ever used the fryers. And when I first joined, the chapter was starting to think about, okay, we're not really using these fryers anymore. They're taking up space. They were talking about selling them. And I was like 22. I just joined the chapter, and my friends and I used to always go out and eat wings. And it was always talked about that, we should have some sort of a festival where we can all get together and like bring in everybody who makes wings in the area, and like a venue where you can try them all. And so really at Carmichael's, circa 2009 or 10 or something, is where the idea sort of began. And I floated the idea to the chapter at the time as a fundraising opportunity. And a way to kind of put these fryers back to use. And at the time, the chapter really didn't have much funding. Really, the biggest fundraiser that they had was a hoagie sale sponsored by Caparelli's, and I think it brought in maybe $1,000 every year. And that was really enough money that the chapter had just to kind of keep afloat. Membership was really down at that time. And so this was they didn't really have, they said, yes, basically, we're good with your idea, but we can't really fund it. So I kind of hit the streets with an idea, and I found two sponsors that year. First Peoples was I was working with First Peoples at the time. They provided $500 in capital, and so that was enough money for me to purchase the crowd barrier control that we needed. And then Western Maryland Distributing, they brought in $1,000. And at the time, I kind of pitched to them that it was, we were going to be selling a lot of beer, and they stood to make a lot of money. And so they contributed $1,000. So I had $1,500 to work with as a budget the first year. And that was what we worked with. It was all volunteer. All the bands were volunteer. They were all local groups. On the first year, and I think the event went off. It was like a 5-hour event, and we had like 4 bands that played, and we probably brought in 200 or 300 people, and it was considered a huge success. And they were like, it brought in, I think for the chapter, I think we ended up making like $3,000, which we were like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do with all this money? And so now, yeah, so the second year came around, and they were like, we got to do this again, and so I sort of had the foundation of the event laid at this time. Now, this is 15 years ago. My goodness, it's been that long. And so I just decided to, okay, how can we make it better? And so we kind of expanded the footprint. At the time, it was at Canal Place. We only utilized about half of the event space down there. It already had a great community base that people really enjoyed it, and the word got out. And so we brought in more vendors, and we started bringing in exhibitors, and we brought in some pretty good bands and expanded to 8 hours the second year. And so it was kind of like an all-day thing. And we probably had just below 1,000 attendees. And that year, I think we made somewhere to the tune of $5,000. And so now we had a little bit of money. Okay, how can we make this better? And so progressively over the years, it just got bigger and better and bigger and better. to the point where on the sixth year, it outgrew Canal Place. We decided to um, move it to the Shrine Club, and this was the first year that it sort of almost outgrew the chapter, meaning that it required a lot of manpower. And I think at the time we probably had maybe 40 or 50 members within the chapter, and it was sort of an all hands on deck. Thankfully, they were all really involved, and they all really liked the event, and so that's when we started reaching out to other nonprofit organizations, and it kind of opened up an avenue for us to begin donating money to other entities to help us, right? Previously, we always named sort of a single benefactor, and early on, it was at the time it was the Western Maryland Music Academy, and we donated them like $1,500. And how that came about was we basically had like a portal where we solicited nonprofit organizations within the community to request the funds, and they came in, and we had sort of a small committee, and we narrowed it down to 3 recipients. And then what happened was those 3 people would come in and pitch their case to the entire organization, and then the organization basically voted on who would be the main benefactor of the event. And as the years went on, it sort of outgrew that concept because we had more money and more need for other volunteers. And then that's when we switched to the platform. Okay, well, we'll bring in partnering organizations, and then we'll pay them a donation for their time. How it goes is we started at somewhere around like $10 per man hour that they provided. Now we provide $15 per man hour. We have over 300 volunteers throughout the day that work. And actually, it's probably excess, way over 300 now, that we've just brought on 2 more partnering organizations. And they man everything. We have a committee of 7 people, including myself. It's myself and Trish, Jordan, Jenna Puffenberger, or Getz, Kira, my sister, my wife, my sister Brandy, my wife Stacy, and Zach. And is that everybody? Did I get everybody? Yeah. And so we all oversee a different aspect of the event. And so it's so big, it's such a large event that how it's scaled over the years is that what I've done is sort of delegated all of, like, there's so many different tasks within it in and of itself, is that, like, for instance, Trish oversees the vendors and the voting. And that is sort of an event in and of itself. She has to organize all of the vendors. There's probably 20 to 30 vendors and exhibitors throughout the day. She solicits them, gets all of their application information in, and she organizes where they go. So Jordan, he oversees all of the facilities. So trash removal, making sure that all of the cans have liners in them, making sure that nothing builds up or nothing's overflowing. And then facilitating a group of volunteers to make sure everything ends up in the dumpster at some point in time. My sister, she oversees all the volunteers, so all 300 people, again, throughout the day, and they're manning things like the beer tents, the front entrance, the facilities. Again, there are stage hands. There are people that come in and help set up. There are people that come in and help clean up. And it really starts the Thursday prior to the event. So the event's on the 21st. So the 19th is when the stage comes in, and we'll have a crew come in and help with that. This year it is the Short Gap Little League. It's the Kaiser Little League. And they'll come in, and their parents will come in and help set up all the stage works. And then Friday, we'll have a team come in and help with the production and stage equipment setup. So that's the speakers, the lighting, all of that. That's the Short Gap Little League. And then Saturday is really when it all happens. Of course, we have the event on Friday too. I just kind of skipped over that. The pre-Wing Off Pavilion Party. That is sort of becoming now that the festival is morphing into a 2-day event. We have a whole set of vendors that come in for that now. Trisha, again, oversees all of that. And it's growing in popularity. I think we probably had somewhere around between 500 and 600 attendees last year. And then there are also volunteers that help facilitate the security and the trash removal for that day as well. And then into Saturday, the entire event is just a whirlwind of activity and chaos for us, as you can imagine. But we've sort of orchestrated what I would like to think is sort of a well-oiled machine over the years. I have a really good group within the committee, and they sort of know their role within the event, which is good because that doesn't mean that I have to sort of oversee them. They know what they're doing. They know how to, take care of things, and I really kind of give them the authority to kind of make their own decisions. If something goes wrong, which it does all the time, which is inevitable, I fully trust their decision making and deploy them to do whatever they need to do to rectify a situation and keep the event flowing as well as it does. And so there's a lot of things that really happen behind the scene to oversee an event of this magnitude. The camping is another huge aspect of the event that's becoming very, very popular. We have roughly 200 campsites that we will rent out for the entire weekend. Camping begins, check-in is at noon on Friday, and then that's really when the weekend begins for our attendees. And it is just it's become a huge, huge deal. Over the years, again, back to sort of the model of basically how we partner with other organizations, there are between 15 and 18 benefactors that benefit from that. And how we do that is, instead of just soliciting individuals, we solicit our nonprofit organizations to basically man an aspect. So like, for instance, we will organize every aspect that requires a volunteer, and then an organization will commit to that aspect. So for instance, the beer pouring stations, there are 6 of those. And so, and each of them pay a little bit differently. They require different man hours or people to actually fulfill the duties. And so that way they have like a lead person within that organization, and that is the person that is held accountable. So they make sure that their volunteers are where they should be and doing what they're supposed to be. And if they are not, then it reflects poorly upon their organization. And that seems to be a pretty good, I guess, model for that. At least it's shown success. It's kind of taken a lot of the duty and responsibility off of us, and allows us sort of the opportunity to just kind of oversee the operation, and then answer questions and handle things in real time throughout the day, rather than being the ones actually pouring the beer or handing out the tickets or putting wristbands on. We deploy all the volunteers to do all those tasks. Again, so to date, we've contributed back to the community over $220,000 as a result of the event, which is something to be extremely proud of. I know I am, and we've done that all using the Jaycees name. And none of this would be possible without the Jaycees. And again, it all started because we had a storage container full of fryers, and then sort of being able to kind of figure out how do we put these to use. But and I think that it's really strengthened the Jaycees name within the community. I've kept the Jaycees name attached to it this entire time, and I think that it will live and die with that name. But it's something that we should all be extremely proud of. And I think for me, it's opened up a lot of doors, both within the community, but also professionally. The event has really strengthened over the years my professional resume, and allowed me to kind of network myself within the community. It was really what got my name out there when I took my previous job within economic development. They asked the previous director of the entity that I now direct, asked me if I would be, willing to come and work for them, and that was basically a derivative of being involved in and overseeing the Wing Off, just because of the amount of community involvement that it has and has had, and the impact that it's had. And so, from a professional level, I don't know if I would be where I am today had it not been for the Jaycees and the Wing Off. And that's sort of a story that I really undertell, but it's the truth. And I'm really proud to be in the position that I have. And 15 years later, it's a wildly successful animal that I don't think anybody has imagined it would ever grow and reach the magnitude that it has. This year, we're probably going to be giving back even more. Um, I have early estimations that we'll probably be donating between $40,000 back to the community this year. I'm looking, actually, as of recent, I'm looking at ways that the event can help channel some funding to some of those affected by the recent flooding. Uh, I've reached out to Barton Little League Association and Midland Little League. Both of their fields have been pretty severely affected by the flooding, and those are often entities that sort of kind of get overlooked as it relates to grant opportunities, just because there's not much out there for them for relief. Most of it's geared towards, and rightfully so, towards businesses and families that were affected, and so on and so forth. But what I was trying to do was find an entity or an organization that may not be applicable for relief funding. And so I'm working with those organizations, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to make a pretty sizable donation to each of those groups and help to rectify the fields and some of the issues that they've seen here as of recently. Moving forward, I would love to see more JC involvement for all the reasons, if not more for just the community impact that the festival generates. It's really a feel good event when where all this money and all this time and effort is going to. I mean, that's really what keeps us going, is knowing that, because it is a labor of love, and Trish and the rest of the committee can attest to that. It is just very trying, especially the week leading up to it. It's you're at the fairgrounds pretty much every day or every other day, helping with setup, having meetings. We've reached a size where we have like an entire emergency plan where we have to be briefed in case of a situation that requires an emergency. So if there's anything from unpredictable weather to an active shooter, we have to be prepared for all those things. And it's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that require our attention, that really often get overlooked. And I really can't stress the value that the committee has brought in that regard, and being able to commit as much time and effort that they have to kind of attend to all that, because it's very time consuming, but it's necessary. But at the end of the day, it's worthwhile, because we're able to make such sizable checks back to all the worthy organizations that help us really make the event happen. And which has also been nice, because we've been able to build those partnerships with all of our partnering organizations as well over the years. We have a lot of people, a lot of the organizations come back because it is a great way to raise money for their respective organizations, but also it's a good time for them. And it's pretty easy for them to fill the job requirements and fill the spots that they need on their end. People kind of, I think, look forward to it. And I look forward to it being over, as I think most of the committee does. But I can't stress enough the feel-good factor of it all, and being able to kind of provide the funding that's going to pay for the uniforms of next year's Little League baseball team, or it could keep an organization afloat for another year. We do have several nonprofits that really rely upon the funding that is generated by the Wing Off to kind of help them seed their own program and do with their own respective initiatives. And so, with that being said, we're always looking for involvement. If this year we've kind of got everything. I know one thing we always need hands on deck for is setting up. This would be the Friday before. If you're available to come out Friday, we're usually there all day. And if you want to just lend a hand hanging up banners, it's a huge event grounds, and the more feet and hands that we have available, the better. But then just to kind of get a behind the scenes look at how things operate and how, you know, extensive the setup is, and it really is a lot. But it's a great event, and we keep it very family oriented as best as we can. Obviously, we sell a lot of beer, which is our moneymaker. But at the end of the day, you know, we're bringing in thousands of people from all over the East Coast, all over the country for that matter, and to experience as little amount of issues as we have is really telling to, you know, the staff and the community is how well that everybody's just embraced it. And so, you know, spreading the word to telling that side of the story, because I think a lot of people just sort of see it as another event. It's a great time, and but it's a fundraiser. At the end of the day, it's been a very successful one, and it's been recognized, I know, amongst the JC organization nationally. I've actually, over the years, there's been other chapters that have reached out to me to kind of get some insight as to how we've set it up over the years and how it kind of has scaled it to as large as it has. So it's on everybody's radar, which is pretty cool. It's given me a lot of attention within the JC organization. I was, I guess, appointed as a senator, which is I think the highest honor that you can get within the JC organization. That was 2 or 3 years ago now. But yeah, so like to me, that's what it's about to be a JC's. I guess is the motto still: find your mission, leave your legacy. Well, that was sort of my mission, and I'm leaving my legacy through this event. It's something, again, I think we should all be very proud of. I know I am. And you know, really the sky is the limit. I'm always looking for someone who might want to take it over one day. I haven't found that person because I've tried to groom a couple people. I'm grooming an entire committee that want no part of it because they see how intense it is. But yeah, so again, we're always open for help or any assistance. If you have any questions or just how to be more involved, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we can provide you that guidance if you would like. Do you have any questions? Did I hit all the talking points? Yeah. Yeah, that was it. That was about a 15-year recap right there. But yeah. So
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
What time, just so I can, because I usually come out on Fridays, but what time is the setup for us to come out and help with?
I'll be usually around noon is a good time. We have some things that we need to kind of take care of and set up in the morning, but usually around noon is where you're at a point where I can start kind of delegating different tasks. Most of it's just general event setup. A lot of banner hanging. There's a ton of banners. Sponsors. That's another thing I didn't touch on is the amount that the sponsorships have been fantastic. Another way that we've been able to kind of you know, generate interest amongst the community. The event wouldn't be possible without sponsors, but I try to give them all banners, and everything is sponsored. But usually around noon is a good time to come in and help out. There's a ton of things that just need to be done, and you're usually done. I try to be done around 6 o'clock. That's when the Friday event starts, and then, you know, if you want to stick around for that, more than welcome to. There's no shortage of things that can be done. Let's put it. But a lot of the grunt work is usually between noon and 6 on Friday.
Thank you.
And if you plan to help, just let us know. That way we kind of have at least a head count and how we can kind of.
Yeah, I usually come. I think I've been there every year on Friday. And I'll let Kira and Trish know, and I usually just step in with them. I just need to block it off on the calendar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure the two of you can keep, or the two of them can keep you busy.
They do.
not, we'll, we'll find something for you to do. Um, if any of you have a truck and trailer, we need to trailer some golf carts from Rocky Gap to the event. Forgot to tell Jordan. But
I have a truck, but not a trailer.
we have the entire week. We have 6 golf carts that it's okay. Yeah, usually Jordan and I will take care of that. And I got a big trailer. I'm going to try to get them all in one. But yeah, if you could show up that Friday, that would be awesome. And then of course everyone's encouraged to attend the day of the event. And if you do, just let me know. I'd be happy to get you passes. We can get you in.
Covered it all.
I hope so. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Every question I had in my head, you answered.
Good. Yeah, good. So yeah, just the biggest thing you can do is help spread the word. So we do a lot of advertising through Facebook. If you can share the event flyer, encourage people to buy tickets. That's really where the donations come from. Is ticket sales. It's essentially a donation to the cause. So the goal is to have the event paid for before it starts. We've reached that plateau. And so everything we raise pretty much here forward is just all more money that we're able to donate back. Yeah, so we're rated about between 18 and 2,000 right now. So usually I like to be around 2,500 before the event. There's usually a really big kick like 2 weeks prior to the event. People I think would like to wait to see what the weather forecast is like, which is fine because they pay the most money for the tickets then. But yeah, so and we'll probably hit that mark fairly easy. And then there's several that we donate for there's probably 300 or 400 that are out for like promo use. So I do radio station trade tickets. So they give me face value for ticket sales or for tickets. I donate the tickets to the radio station, and then they provide me radio basically. So there's a lot of that way. And then there's a lot. I think the sponsors. We've narrowed down the sponsors this year. We used to solicit basically as many as possible. The problem with that was that it was getting a little diluted. So, and by that meaning, like it's hard to get everybody the exposure that they are due. And so what we did this year was I increased the amount of the sponsorship, but decreased the amount of sponsors. So it evened itself out. So I solicit around there's about $68,000 with sponsors this year, which is pretty awesome. But they all get tickets and a whole package, and there's probably another 250 to 300 tickets that are giving out for sponsorships. So you hit that 3,000 mark pretty quickly and then there's usually a lot of tickets the day of the event as well. So if we can hit right around 4,000, we were at about 4,200 last year, which was the biggest year we've seen. This year, I think there's some other factors at stake that are kind of causing the tickets not to sell as well. Economic, people don't have the money this year or whatever the reason might be. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's just encouraging people to sell tickets, helping tell the story as to, what the event is about. Yeah, it's a fun event and it's really it's a music festival, but there's very few, and actually, quite frankly, I haven't found another festival that is central around community support. Most of the time, there are private entities that sort of oversee the event itself, and like I've grown a pretty close relationship with Delfest, and they're amazed at what we're able to do strictly with volunteers in terms of the oversight of the festival, the organization of it, and so that says a lot too. They have Delfest, as an example, they use the exact same footprint as what we do. While their festival is larger in scale, attendees wise, we're pretty much the same. We have just probably last year we had about 300 or 400 people less than what they did, which really isn't that much. So I meet with them fairly regularly. I actually met with them at the end of last week, and I'm meeting with them again tomorrow to talk about logistics. There's a lot of things that we share. We've been able to kind of partner on a lot of different things from a logistics standpoint. A lot of the tents and canopies that they rent, I'm able to rent. And so we're able to save costs by doing that. And so that's another great partnership. The Delfest group has been extremely great to work with. And so yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I could go on and on and on, but I guess the biggest takeaway is just, support it in any way you can, rather it be attending and volunteering, or just, simply sharing the festival. And if you know somebody who's on the fence of attending, kind of tell them the story, what it's about, what we do, where the money goes, and how it's grown over the years, strictly because of supporting community and supporting cast. So.
Yeah. No other questions. We'll let you go.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Coming and talking with us.
Of course, anytime. And if you ever have any questions or want to talk about it in more detail, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all take care.